What's good? We've done a fair amount of these. We've done a fair amount of these. I haven't updated my playlist since the last one. All right, I'm gonna be sure to do that. Now, if this isn't your first rodeo here, you would know that usually I listen to 40 albums and then I do a little ranking video like this where I talk about it very briefly and then I move on. I did a ranking a little bit before New Year's, and around New Year's, I did my year end list as well. So it kind of came in the midst of everything. So I was ranking some albums that were in that list, and it was just a big mess. So I kind of extended it to 50, like, a little past the new year, just so we can wait some time into 2025 before I make a list. If you watch my year end list, you might have a little idea as to what's at the top. But if you didn't see anything, then you may be in for a fresh list. But yeah, this is like the seventh or eighth video I've done within my 2 years of being on YouTube. I think a few days ago, and I don't know if it was January 31st, but I just hit 2 years being on here. So it's been a trip. We've reviewed well over uh 200, maybe 300 albums at this point, and I've just been grateful for y'all sticking with me, watching me develop my tastes further. All right, from where I started to where I am right now, it's been certainly a journey. It's entirely subjective, of course. All right, and I mean it when I say subjective. I'm not being objective at all. All right, I don't want to see any comments criticizing because there's no point. It's just taste. But do whatever you want. All right, if you're wondering where the review is for the album mentioned, all right, some albums got blocked on YouTube. Real ones know where to watch that. But I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah, we got 50 fucking albums. 50 is crazy. All right, let's go. It's been a couple of times now where I've taken my pants off and took a shit on this album, and I'm not gonna do that today. I'm gonna be kind. I do like some parts of Pablo Honey. We know that, but like I said before, it's just a regular alt rock album to me. I think it has some great moments. I love Creep. All right, I think I like Creep more than the average person. I Love You, Blown Out, those three songs, incredible. The rest of the album, I don't really know. Tom, as a vocalist and a songwriter, has just evolved so much beyond this point. It's cool looking back at this with a nostalgia standpoint, but if we're talking about a real quality album here, there's not a single record on this list that it's better than King of Limbs. Big gap of enjoyment between 50 and 49. Just want to say that right now. I like the record. I love Bloom. I love Lotus Flower. Separator is a great closer. All right, there are some production moments on this that I really do enjoy. But is it just not really giving me enough? You know what I mean? It's kind of like if I walked into a restaurant and I had an appetizer of Radiohead, and then the owner walks up to me and then kicks me out. Little by Little and Feral never really were for me. All right, I know I spoke really bad about Feral, but we're being kind in this video. All right. Song is dog shit. And I do like the cold atmosphere of this record overall. I just feel a little bit detached whenever I listen to it. I would still call it a good album though. I would. I'm sorry. There's a lot of people that might be heartbroken by this placement right now. Like I said, guys, a big gap between 48 and 49 as well. I will say with this album, it does not get much more raw than this record, much more honest, much more really feeling their pain all across the board here. Jamie just knows how to really paint the perfect vibe of an unsettling atmosphere, but he brings a nice little friendly and fragile vibe to it. The album does get really quiet and then has also really crazy brash moments during the production. The last two tracks, Fast Car and Ian Curtis Wish List, are probably my favorite songs off of here. I love the record. The only reason why it's landing this low is just because of personal enjoyment and how I really don't like to find myself in the emotional state whenever I listen to this record. That doesn't mean I don't like shit that's depressing. It's just for me personally, it's not really hitting. Y'all know I am definitely still open to exploring more Shoo Shoo, and it will happen. And if you haven't heard the record, do definitely check it out still. It is incredible. Next is Sprain the Lamb as Effigy. I actually had this at 48 and Shoo Shoo at 47. My bad, I swapped them. All right. There, whatever. This album is a nihilist's dream. It's a dream come true for them. Probably the most experimental rock record I've ever heard. So my personal taste wise, I'm still experimenting with this album and listening to it and trying to get into it. Similar to Shoo Shoo, it has a very dynamic atmosphere as well, going from pretty silent moments for minutes on end into the most crazy ear-piercing sounds that I heard this year. I love his lyrics so much. on We Think So Ill of You. All right, that song scares the fuck out of me, and Margin for Error is absolutely beautiful. Please still check out this record if you haven't. Math rock is still very difficult for me to get into still. I had a hard time with the lyrics, but I'm just a dumbass, so that's on my end. And a lot of songs to me were a little difficult to tell apart at times, but I love his vocals across the board here. All right, the drum work is insane. This album starts at 100 and it stays there the whole way through. And I respect the influence and impact of this record, regardless of whether or not how many times I return to it. Next is Night Palace by Mount Eerie. Phil absolutely kills it with all of his usual singer-songwriter sounds, but the part that I like the most about this record and the production was surprisingly a lot of drone-like sounds, and the noise rock being a big surprise for me. His imagery across the board on the record is outstanding as always, alright, especially on songs such as Empty Paper Towel Roll and I Spoke to a Fish. The album to me is just a little bit fragmented, and it does fall off the rails a little bit towards the later half of the record. But the outro is still outstanding. All right, that's not included in my list. Love the concept of this record the most. Going through the stages of being in a coma and eventually dying. It's so interpersonal. Learning that it revolves around his close friend too. Makes the album cut so much deeper. The sound does overwhelm me a little bit, which makes it hard for me to get into, but I still enjoy a lot of the aspects on this record. I think the main part I like the most about the sound was his vocals. I mean, he is absolutely fucking wailing. But yeah, production on this album is mind-blowing. All right, makes you want to get up and take a breather because it's just so intense. I'm sure I'm gonna get more adjusted to this record and it'll move up on the ranking. I'm still just trying to, get my shoes on. It's such a personal and homemade record, from the production to the lyrics, really diving deep with themes of abuse and trauma. It does feature some of her best songwriting, and I just love her fucking attitude. I actually want to talk about this one a little bit more. I think the first track on here, I Want You to Love Me, has some of her best vocals, period. That song just cuts so deep. And the lyrics on For Her still get to me till this day. Yeah. One of the more unpredictable pop records I've ever heard, with my only impression of her being Magdalene. This was, it threw me off. It threw me off, I gotta say that, but this is rapidly growing on me. Exploring the concept of you sexual, this newfound word that you can kind of just be in your imagination with this record and kind of create your own world, and makes the album super enjoyable. There's some production elements, some lyric choices, and some features on here that are a little bit questionable to me. Not anything that I would necessarily remove, just things that kind of threw me off a little bit that I'm still trying to adjust to. That's why it's at this place. But yeah, still great though. I do have to award these dudes' bravery from going to the sound on what's it called, Iraq, going from the sound on that record, which was incredibly successful and has their biggest hits, to this is such a risk, but I applaud it in every way. Songs like It's Working, Someone's Missing, Brian Eno, all fucking bangers. All right, I could have wrote that Brian Eno song. I love that dude. And of course we can't forget about Siberian Breaks. That's kind of the song. That's kind of the fucking song off this record. I mean, it just sounds like 8 beautiful ideas put in a blender. Still listen to this record. It's incredibly psychedelic, and it just gets me in a good mood. Kicking off the top 40 with Oasis. All right, this record has some fucking anthems. Don't Look Back in Anger being one of my favorite songs off this entire list, period. That song alone gets this album high. It gets me high. The sound of this record is huge. Do I think it gets a little bit repetitive? Of course. All right, of course, I'm not gonna pretend like it's not, but I mean, it's Britpop. I know it's just an EP, but man, all right, this shit takes my socks off and gets in between the toes. They go 5 for 5 on here. It's one of the most ethereal sounding shoegaze records that I've heard. Of course, Starting Over is the standout song, being one of the best shoegaze songs I've ever heard, period. But the other songs on here, the other 4, are just as strong. Vocals on this record are great. All right, it's a shame that this record is so short and their discography is so scant. Horrifying. Front to back. Scariest production I've ever heard. The song will start off and it will be the scariest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And then somehow it just goes so fucking hard. Daveed Diggs, who I didn't even know was in Hamilton, comes at me with some crazy flows, crazy lyricism, really disturbing storytelling, and depicts reality, honestly, in just such a horrifying way. I do think it's an album that you definitely have to be mindful about what it is and what its goal is before even listening to it. I wouldn't recommend hopping in blindly to this, to be honest, like I did. Love Story 7. And that last track, man, banger. Has me bumping my head all the way through. I didn't know that we could create a drone-like scary atmosphere that's incredibly beautiful with classical instruments like that. One of the most cinematic album experiences I've ever really had to put myself through. I think most of the record I was sitting there like this. This album flows so beautifully. It's hard for me to personally pick a favorite song, all right? And when it comes to ambient style music, it's not my favorite. I tend to be more of a minimal person. I definitely gravitate towards a more Brian Eno sort of sound, but this is still very beautiful to me. Just such an amazing contrast between a lot of the beautiful moments off this record that make my ears sing, and then ones that make my ears go, "Oh, that's scary. Turn it off." Chromacopia. I still don't know till this day what that word means. This album exceeded my expectations. All right, even though I was still incredibly excited about it regardless. I don't think it's top 3 Tyler, no, but it's still amazing. I love how personal he gets on this record. He entertains the thought about having kids, a big self-reflection, a big running into, who you really are. I think the concept, his writing is what I enjoy most about the record. I would have to say the songs are still very good, but a lot of shit that I'm not really going back to it compared to his other albums. But the record still has some of Tyler's best moments, like on Take Off Your Mask. Like Him is probably a top 15, top 10 Tyler the Creator song. Thought I Was Dead, man. Wow, that shit rocks my world. I'm just gonna live in New York. That's what this album makes me want to do. This album is incredible. It has so much, going from the crazy alternative rock moments to the dreamy Tom York parts of the record. It's amazing. I love her songwriting and the way that she talks about love. I truly think that anyone can enjoy this album. Anyone. The ending song, We Float, is mind-blowing to me. All right, everyone needs to hear this record. She's amazing. All right, she has so many other records that are on par from what I heard with this one. So I definitely gotta dive into more of what she's got going on. I love this record on first listen, and I said in the video that it would take me a minute to decide whether or not I liked this one or Yoshimi more, but I definitely like Yoshimi more. Not for any specific reason. This album is incredible still. All right, this right when you think this album peaks, all right, it surprises you and goes even harder. All right, it definitely feels like there's a whole orchestra playing in my ear, entering my ear, playing for my brain all at once. Bass lines on this record are incredible and outworldly. There was some moments where I genuinely wanted to look outside to see if the bass was, really engulfing me. A lot of ethereal moments as well. I like a lot of the instrumental parts, and we're kind of ending in a devastating place with this record too. All right, it's very somber. And finally, the drums. Oh, surprisingly, I think A Spoonful Weighs a Ton is my favorite song off here. A lot of the review consisted of a lot of, oh wait, that's them moments off of Buddy Holly and Say It Ain't So. Undone is definitely my favorite song by them. For miles. I love that fucking song. And it's just such a consistent listen from front to back. If this kind of geeky alternative rock was my favorite genre, this record would be number 1 on top of the list, but it's not. I've never heard an instrumental album send a fucking message like this one makes. It's honestly my second or third favorite album by them. It has some of their most chaotic and harshest moments and some of their beautiful moments as well. All of the compositions on this record are so harrowing and genuinely scary. It makes me emotional actually listening to it and having to think about the subject matter that this was built on. But yeah, beautiful record. It's unfortunate that this record really even had to be made in the first place. West Coast. Hey, I'm not on that coast. Alright, but I fuck. Production on this absolutely bangs from front to back. Do I like all the features? No. But songs like Man in the Garden, about how Kendrick reflecting on his fame, kind of having a conversation with God at the same time about whether or not he deserves all this and he deserves to be here. Reincarnated is an incredible song, paying homage to Tupac and his cadence and just the 90s production overall. All right. Also talking about Luther, the most popular song off this record. All right. It deserves it for a fucking reason. I think SZA's vocals are amazing. Her and Kendrick have so much chemistry together. Truly one of my favorite love songs of last year. Dodie 6, favorite feature. All right, Hey Now was my favorite track off this. I gotta say that though. Posthumous archived record finished after his death, maybe, or I don't know. This record has so many themes that really cut deep after hearing about his passing. Talking about him struggling with his relationships, substance abuse, getting famous, being at this level, and kind of being in a lose-lose situation where if you go higher, your balloon is just gonna pop, but if you get lower, it's just, you're gonna get lower. This might be my favorite record by him to date. It's hard for me to even pick a favorite song. Everything off of here is incredible. Funny Papers, Rick's Piano, and Mannequins are probably my top three though. And also the track with SZA is so beautiful. Rest in fucking peace. Immigrant Song kicking off this record with a line of crack got me thinking that this is going to be the most adrenaline packed record by them, but it's actually not. At the time, this was some of the most tamer songs that I've heard by them, and it really threw me off. But I think the versatility of this record is what makes me come back to it a lot. I think I enjoy this one more than the average individual. 3 tends to be a polarizing record wherever I go on the internet trying to see things about it. I'm not a massive fan of the blues inspired songs, but everything else I love. Trent's genius coming back at it. I like this one more than the Downward Spiral. All right, I'm not going to call it better than Downward Spiral. I'm not going to do that. But I think I personally like this one more. All right, it's a double record. Very heavy record. Very crazy one to listen to from start to finish. Very tolling on the soul, so to speak. But I think this experience is worth it. This album does contain a lot more beautiful moments than the Downward Spiral did, production-wise, which is why I think I personally like it more. A lot of tracks that really cut deep, such as "I'm Looking Forward to Joining You," track about his grandma passing and not really knowing how to really get through from that. Hilarious tracks are like "Starfuckers." I did end up watching the music video like you guys told me to. It was worth it. And I think "The Day the World Went Away" is my favorite song by them. But "The Great Below" might be their best. His best. Whatever. I mean, that shit just got me feel like I was drowning. That shit got me feel like I was the one dying. Next is the new sound by Jordy Greep. We're making love albums towards prostitutes. All right, that's what we're doing, I guess. The song "As I Waltz" has just left a mark on me. It's just so surreal, and it's just so psychotic. I mean, he imagines this perfect world with this woman and everything that he's gonna do for her, and the amazing relationship that they're gonna have. But it only lasts within that hour. After that point, he wants nothing to do with her. This record on a deeper level is just a man not being able to take accountability for being lustful and gross. But I love it. I mean, if this was in Black Midi's discography, I'd probably put this at number 2 to Hellfire. And I think it might even grow me past Hellfire one day. Holy Holy is one of my favorite songs of last year. I return to that one very frequently. Love the guitar solo on that. A very cinematic experience as well. The Magician is incredible. Probably the best written song off of this album. Lift to Experience the Texas Jerusalem Crossroads, a concept album about Jesus Christ, the rapture coming down, but Jerusalem is not in Jerusalem, it's in Texas, and this band is kind of leading the way. It's very crazy. Some of the most mind-blowing shoegaze moments ever. This concept record is incredible. I think it can make anyone convert to Christianity for a time being. The pacing of this record is incredible. His songwriting and just energy behind his vocals just makes me want to be there. All right, makes me want to be on one of those horses. All right, charging at the devil in the apocalypse. That's what this album makes me want to do. Repent from my sins. Falling from a Cloud 9 is a top 10 shoegaze song I've ever heard, I'll tell you that right now. From what I understand, this album really changed the way songs were written. I'll hop straight into the outro. It's one of the most surreal things I've ever heard. His songwriting is absolutely insane. I saw a recent clip of him in an interview saying that he himself thinks it's magic that the way those songs are written, and I believe it. It took me a second to get into Bob Dylan, and till this day I'm still trying to get my palate adjusted to him. All right, this is not my favorite Bob Dylan record. Yeah, it's higher on the list, even though I've only heard 2. But he is a monster at that fucking harmonica, let me tell you that right now. Everything about this record is great. Of course, Like a Rolling Stone is incredible, amazing, iconic song. All right, Ballad of a Thin Man as well. I love his lyrics on that. And the characters and the world that he builds on this record is like nothing I ever heard before. I can't believe that this came from the 60s. Next, I got Herbie Hancock with Headhunters. All right, I made the mistake in the past of putting a jazz record lower on the list. All right, just because it's jazz and it's hard. It's hard. This album is a fucking stir fry. That's how I put it. This album is a stir fry. Everything that's being infused together here is beautiful. Bass lines on this record are incredible. Herbie is a monster on the keys. All right, tracks like Watermelon Man just get me fucking going. All right, I don't stop. I don't stop. The song structure and slide too, kind of giving me multiple climaxes at once. Oh, that vein melter ending this record and just a very serene place. All right, this album is a genius work of art. I love it. Quebec is one of my favorite albums that I reviewed on this channel, period. I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. Now this has a lot of sounds that I do love from them. I do like their more just traditional songs rather than their Brown tracks, but this to me, it does lack the highlights that the Mollusk and Quebec have, but it is such a very consistent album. Flutes of Chi, even if you don't, is a banger. I love the piano on that song. That shit got me dancing. I love how psychedelic we got on this album too, with Back to Basem. There's a lot of shit going on here, and Bananas and Blow, such a fun one. All right, this is a great one. This next one, I'm not gonna say what it is. This record just came out. All right, it's one of my favorite artists of all time. I'm not gonna say it's better than any of the records I listed before. Objectively, I know it's not. All right, I'm not making the comment that The Weeknd is better than Bob Dylan. I know he's not. I know that this record, even though I would rate it like a 9 out of 10, and other records lower on this list a 9 out of 10, I know it's not similar quality because this album has not aged at all. And I know it's not going to be remembered the way a lot of the other records, genre pioneering records that I just listed, it's not going to be remembered the same way. All right, it's not on the same level. I'm not saying it is. I just love R&B. I love alternative R&B. I love synth pop. Let me do my thing. I think it's a brilliant way to wrap up his discography. He does have to retire the name after this, though, for this record to age at all. This has some of his best songs since After Hours. I think it is a step up from Dawn FM, even though that there is some fat off the record that I would cut off. If you trim this record down to a nice slim hour and you eliminate like 20 or so minutes, you get close to a perfect record. I'll say it. I don't give a fuck. Some of the Beatles' most experimental work yet. All right, lyrics are crazy. Some of their most iconic songs: Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, All I Need Is Love. I'm eventually going to do a Beatles ranked video and I'll dive into more detail about these records, but yeah. Top 20, Joni Mitchell, Blue. One of the top pioneers of the singer-songwriter genre. The arrangements on this record is genius. All right, River is a beautiful Christmas song. Just an amazing album front to back, revolved around yearning. Such a consistent listen. It really makes me feel what Joni is feeling. My personal favorite is California and This Flight Tonight. Those songs kind of playing off of each other in a very nice way. All right, This Flight Tonight is incredible. All right, amazing. Houses of the Holy. To me, this is adventurous in a very similar way to Led Zeppelin 3, but I do enjoy it more. The versatility on this record is out of this world. You could play this in winter, summer, spring, fall. They dive into genres that I didn't even think that they would do. All right, DI or Maker, The Crunch. All right, that's not a highlight. It's a song. It's not a highlight. Dancing Days as well. But my favorite off this record, my absolute favorite, top 3 Led Zeppelin song for me is No Quarter. And that's kind of why it's this high on the list. The eerie story behind that song, the cold atmosphere that we create is awesome. All right, the riff gets me going every fucking time, and so does Robert. I want to talk about 18 and 17 at the same time because I didn't really know what to put over the other because both of these albums have their strengths for me. When it comes to an album listening experience, all right, from front to back, I'm taken And Then Nothing Turned Itself Inside Out. The pacing and sequencing of that record makes me just feel like I'm just in a permanent dream throughout the whole entire experience. However, when it comes to personal songs that I want to go out and listen to by this band, I'm taking I Can Hear the Heart Beating as One. Songs like Shadows, Center of Gravity, My Little Corner of the World, they all get me going, alright, but I do like Let's Save Tony Orlando's House, Tears Are in Your Eyes the most. Those are my favorite songs by them. Maps, Billy Woods, Kenny Siegel, alright, an almost perfect hip-hop record in my opinion. Kenny Siegel brings an amazing mix of jazz samples and eerie samples and ties them all together all at once and makes it seamless. I don't know how the fuck he does it. Billy Woods is an absolute genius on the fucking mic. His metaphors, his wordplay is incredible. His flow off the record doesn't miss at all. Kenny Siegel Taylor makes these beats for the features as well. All right, they all fit on the production of these songs like a puzzle piece. All right, this record is great. Visions of Joanna is genius. All right, my personal favorite song by him off this record is on here. Just Like a Woman. All right, I love that song. Fourth Time Around being a play on Norwegian Wood. I like that a lot. I love Bob Dylan and the Beatles kind of inspiring each other throughout the 60s. This kind of represented that. And I love the way he describes his wife at the time, sad lady of the low Lowlands. This I definitely gravitate towards the love lyrics on Blonde compared to Highway 61, but that's just personal preference. Production off both records to me are equal, but this one I like more. Next is The Cure, Songs of a Lost World. I received major criticism for not putting this in my top 25 last year, and I honestly regret it because with the amount of comments, I went back and re-listened to this record maybe twice, and I think I fucked up. Easily one of the best records of last year. I mean, last year we had a packed fucking year, more than usual, but this was a fucking standout. This band is back in full form. Every song off this record has an emotional asteroid that hits me every time I listen to it. Alone and Nothing Is Forever is, peak music, guys. Peak music. And of course, End Song. Guitar work is incredible. Robert Smith does not age. All right. And the lyrics regarding his brother's death, too, hit me even harder. This record it doesn't really miss. I am the ultimate chiller when I listen to this record. I'm actually every mood all at once. I'm ambient. I'm chilling the fuck out. I'm going crazy with the alt rock. I cannot get over how good Pacific Theme is. That song calms my nerves instantly. And Shampoo Suicide. Alright, both amazing songs. Anthems for a 17-year-old girl gets me into hypnosis every time. I still don't know what this album really means. Led Zeppelin 4. It's kind of the rock album known by most people. I think a lot of people are going to be upset that I have it out of my top 10, but you know what? It's my fucking list. The one thing with this record that I wasn't necessarily expecting was how much tame moments there were. I was expecting hard rock the whole way through, and there was a lot of moments like Black Dog, When the Levee Breaks, Four Sticks. Alright, this story behind Four Sticks is incredible. Makes me like that song even more. But the chill songs, Going to California, Stairway to Heaven, of course, are my highlights. And yeah, this album makes me feel like I'm just a whimsical little bunny leaping through the forest on some mythical shit. All right, and getting really aggressive here and there. Also, my parlay just hit. Dream pop ethereal masterpiece that makes me want to die in a cloud and become the cloud. This record is glimmering with the most beautiful guitars you've ever heard in your entire life, and the most haunting vocals by Elizabeth. It doesn't touch Heaven or Las Vegas for me personally, but I still like this record to kind of zone out to and really just get in my fucking mood. If you're a fan of the more gothic sort of sounding dream pop, this is definitely for you. A lot more darker tones on here. She is as incomprehensible as ever. All right, I wouldn't want it any other way. Tracks like Pandora is incredible. Pandora is one of my favorite Cocteau Twins songs. Please listen to this album if you haven't. Top 10. Damn, we've been recording for a while. Tom Waits' vocals immediately hard to get into, but I think I'd taken a liking to them more than the average person who's just getting into one of his stuff. I don't know if it's because I also have a similar voice. There's a drunken longing that this record displays from front to back. The theme of just kind of being a dog and going wherever your soul takes you, I guess, in the moment, not really having a home and trying to find a home and maybe a woman or something that isn't really good for you or something that doesn't really support you, but you just got to lay your head down somewhere, just to lay your head down. Hang Down Your Head and Time back to back is like a 1-2 punch. Downtown Train is my favorite song off the record. The guitar on that is incredible, and I love his lyrics. And Anywhere I Lay My Head is probably one of the most devastating songs I've ever heard at all. This record is great. This record blends the thing that I love the most about Deftones. It has their brash moments on the intro, Swerve City, immediately kicking me off with just a shot of adrenaline. And of course, the shoegaze moments off this record has such an ethereal vibe to it that really gets me lost in the atmosphere. Putting some of these songs on while driving is a heavy recommendation that you should do. And the outro, What Happened to You, I think is one of their best songs. I love the guitar work on that so much. Physical Graffiti. You know what? I'm gonna describe the record like this. Ready? So this is the quality of the record, right? This is the quality of the record, right? We're at amazing right now. This is disc 1. We're starting at disc 1. Ready? Disc 1, great. End of disc 1. Oh, amazing, great. Disc 2, oh my god, we're off the charts. It's incredible. Disc 2, oh, what's happening? In My Time of Dying and Cashmere are incredible songs. In My Time of Dying, one of my favorite paced Led Zeppelin songs, period. The first 4 songs of disc 2 is incredible. 10 Years Gone is just an absolutely amazing track. I love the story behind Robert Plant's success on that song, kind of having to sacrifice a relationship to be where he's at right now and kind of reflecting on that person. And then after 10 Years Gone, the album just ends out of nowhere. It's weird. I feel like it goes on, but it doesn't. It just ends right there, and it's a perfect record. The fucking grooves on this record, the soul and the passion behind every song on here, especially Untitled, is unmatched. It's a really sensual record for me. It gets super intimate at times. Tracks like Send It On and Feel Like Making Love are also big favorites of mine. Alright, those two and Untitled are probably my top 3. Not anything wrong with this record here. Alright, D'Angelo is a genius, and I find it incredibly frustrating that we have 3 albums from him. And I still need to listen to Brown Sugar and Black Messiah. It's Abbey Road. It's Abbey Road. It has the fucking medley, and also some of their best songs in general come together being one of their best intros. Something being one of the best songs that George has ever written. The guitar work on this record is incredible on She's So Heavy. That's my favorite song personally, and I think Ringo does his thing. I think this album just displays all of them at their peak. Is it my favorite? I don't know. I'm still deciding on this or number 5 right now. They're close. Unfortunately, at the moment, I'm a fan of Chaos, which means I'm taking the White Album over Abbey Road right now. The storyline and the drama between everyone in the band kind of wanted to go in their own separate direction, but it all kind of working out on here, and it's still being a masterpiece because everyone in the band is a fucking genius anyway, so it's gonna come out great. I do like the Beatles when they have their most chill songs. I think George and Paul definitely do their thing on here. John has some confusing moments, especially towards the end. Tracks like Helter Skelter is insane. Back in the USR, such a great way to kick off this record. While My Guitar Gently Weeps is top 3 Beatles for me. And yeah, this record just has so much depth that I'm still digging to the bottom of this ocean floor trying to get to. So yeah, I'm still re-listening to this record, even though it's been like 2 or 3 times since. I'm blown away by the Beatles. Next is Intervisions. Songs in the Key of Life is better than this record in my opinion, because just because it's a double album of the quality of this record. All right, this is a 10 out of 10. The rhythm on Living for the City just gets me going. The guitar work on Visions is something that the soul cannot even describe. And Golden Lady just keeps on fucking growing on me. That is my song. He's Mr. Know-It-All is so catchy to me. I love the meaning behind that song. Playfulness of Don't You Worry About a Thing gets me smiling from cheek to cheek. And of course, All in Love is Fair is the peak of this record. It's such a cinematic moment. Stevie's a genius. There's no way his ass can't see. Next is the self-titled from the Velvet Underground, not the Nico one, their other one. I don't know why. I knew for some reason that I was going to love this record going into it. Just such a buttery smooth, gentle production from start to finish, besides the fucking murder mystery. That song still confuses me, although I do like the creativeness behind it. But yeah, songs like Candy Says, Pale Blue Eyes, After Hours, all beautiful to me. My favorite song, alright, being I'm Set Free. Lou Reed's vocals on I'm Set Free make me feel as if I've just attained freedom for the rest of my life. Alright, and the instrumental is crazy. Next is Julie Cruz, Floating Into the Night. I just heard this album like 2 weeks ago for the first time. So me putting it high on the list, it's not really a risk, it's just a realization that I found what I needed in my life. This is it. Rest in peace to David Lynch. Alright, I'm not going to go on and on about how much David Lynch has positively affected my life, but this album is amazing. Julie's vocals are angelic from start to finish. The theme of this record being so consistent throughout the whole way through, and we're kind of building on it as we go on, and the longing and desperation for this person continues to grow and to grow and to grow. Instrumentation off of this is wild. The way these pads are designed throughout this record gets me going in a way I can't even describe. The jazz elements too kind of gives me like a Sade vibe as well. Whenever the saxophone hits on this record, it just gets to me. And a lot of these songs just start off crazy, like the Nightingale. I'm biased. I've seen some of these songs in Twin Peaks, so I do like it more because of that, and just honestly, this ethereal shit is my sort of sound. So when you put one of my favorite directors and my favorite genres together, I'm gonna love this shit. So yeah. Lastly, I got Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. This was the number 1 on my top 25 at the end of the year list last year. To this day, I can't get enough of this record. It's very close to a 10 out of 10 for me for a double fucking album, summarizing the highs and lows, mostly highs of the human experience. And this album talks about religion, Duke Ellington, heartbreak, love, having a daughter, a relationship on summer soft that kind of changes with the seasons, ordinary pain being a perspective from both of the individuals in a relationship, the heartbreak and the heartbreaker. I love his songwriting on Knocks Me Off of My Feet, him how he doesn't really want to bestow the burden of him loving this person so intensely onto them, so he has to make this song that kind of just displays it instead. Without a doubt, Joy Inside My Tears is my favorite song of him till this day. One of my favorite songs of all time, automatically. And yeah, this record is incredible. All right, the production is insane, his vocals are insane. Nothing bad to say about this, guys. It's my number one right now. But yeah, that's my list. I'm tired. Sorry if it got rough towards the end. I've been recording for like 2.5 hours now, so we're gonna edit this tomorrow and get it out for y'all. I'm excited for the new season of Smags or whatever the fuck. I got a very special video coming within the next week or two, so get ready for that. And yeah, I appreciate the support as always. If you're new here, feel free to like and subscribe to your thing, whatever you want. Feel free to check out my Patreon if you want to support me over there as well. If you want to check out any reactions live, I got polls over there where we pick the albums that we're gonna do next and everything like that. So it's a good fucking time over there. So thank you for being here. I love y'all. Thank you.